What? Okay. YouTube's lying to us. I guess we're live. YouTube was telling me we were not live. If we are live, let me know in the comment, or let me know in the chat, guys. It's like 50-50. I honestly don't know. We might be. But I'm back, and so hopefully I'm not just talking to a void on the internet. Been a few days, my friends. Been a few days. Missed quite some spicy, not just geopolitical action, but chart action here. I was at the beach. Let me get a little tan. At the beach, and then actually last night I had a sleep study, and I'm kind of wrecked. So I wanted to get you guys a nice little update here. We are going to be live again tomorrow. 𝐒𝐴 is speaking. He's testifying. I'll figure out where, but it's at 10 a.m. I already scheduled it. Bitcoin making some pretty spicy moves here. Last week, if I remember correctly, things were lining up to actually look pretty good. For a while, I guess until I went to the beach, things were looking pretty decent. Into the weekend, Bitcoin selling off, breaking lows, down under 100,000, shocking most of Twitter and maybe most of YouTube. Didn't shake us though. Bitcoin came pretty close to backtesting 98K, just shy. If you are in our Crown Crypto group, I did take a long there, which I'm gonna probably show you tomorrow. I hit about 98.5, not the best position, and obviously not looking even as good as it did just hours ago. Bitcoin in the last few minutes here, breaking under 100,000 again, this time finding some kind of support and bouncing a little bit, but things are looking interesting. Apparently, those bombs must have missed their target and hit crypto, because crypto is not looking so hot here. Some very spicy things, I'd say, going on some other charts. Maybe more spicy than Bitcoin. I have a poll going, and yes, the clickbait article, or the clickbait thumbnail. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. This is the daily. I've tried to make this some nice clickbait, but I couldn't figure out how to do it right. I'm not good at clickbait. But here we go. On the daily, check this out. Bitcoin right now wedged in between two really elegant crosses of moving averages. This is just chart nerd stuff. It does give us probably a trading range to look at, but I wouldn't read really too far into this exact setup. It's just pretty. So right above price, we have the 20 and 50 daily moving averages looking to make a bearish cross. That's at about 105,000 US dollars, and sitting below price, the 100 and 200 looking to cross bullishly at about 96,000. So you could read into this and say that maybe 105 could be a decent short, 96 could be a decent long. Sure. Really, though, it's just pretty. You rarely see a setup, I'll say, as elegant as this, as kind of beautiful as this. But it does happen from time to time, and it is my favorite chart right now to look at. I really do like this. It does give us some kind of defined ranges, but it really is just prettier than it is useful at this point. Total crypto market cap maybe suggesting it is not a big time to worry. We have been looking at these prices, or these levels, forever. If you guys remember, these arrows have been here, I want to say since mid-May, early May, looking for a back test of $3 trillion, the 2021 all-time high. Here we go. Basically looking for a bounce from here, and everything is kind of neat and tidy where it is. The sell-off was spooky. It brought us below 100. How many of you out there saw tweets or posts or even videos on YouTube about X amount of days above 100K? It was like 42, 40, I don't even know how many days. As soon as we started reading those, and they were everywhere, we should have expected 100K to break. Here we go. We have the spooky political news. We have the spooky price. And of course, we have really low interest in the crypto space right now. I think today especially. I think really there's just other things going on. We have other charts that I'll show you here in a minute. But kind of just more pressing matters, I guess. The perfect setup, in my opinion, for Bitcoin to look to make another leg to the upside. So total back testing, 3 trillion. Hopefully holding support here. Hopefully the low is in, knock on wood. That's what I think is happening. I think that we have seen the low. for this move. And I have one other indicator that might help us. Here we go. The moon phase indicator. Woo. I do believe today is the completely new moon and the start of the next moon phase. These have been really hit or miss throughout this cycle, but in the last maybe month or two, they have become a little bit more dependable, or a little bit better hit rate, let's say. On the last cycle, turning over, that was the Pico top on June 10th. For the last few weeks of price action, or even for June, as soon as the new moon came around, boom, price began to trend down. Lower lows, lower highs, no exception. Really didn't break that at all. Before that, from the 27th to May, back to June, you can say that was like kind of mixed, not really the best. May 12th up into May 27th, trended up pretty one directionally. These in the past have hit really well. Go back and look. I'm never suggesting that you trade based on the moon, but go back and check out the history of Bitcoin, and you'll see at times this becomes pretty spot on. Praying here that the timing of this low is going to correlate with the swing low of the structure as we see that 2-week period turn around. I hope that the low is in and we trend back up the same way we trended down from the last cycle change. Boom, boom, boom. That's what I think is going to happen. The spooky event came and went. Certainly there is more spookiness ahead, but if you guys have noticed, the narratives in the news, I'm going to say at least for this year, the narratives in the news every single time seem to play out the same way. And that is, something happens. If it's bad, price sells off on that day, hits a low, everyone is spooked, and then the low's in, and it just moves up after that, floats up after that. It's almost predictably consistent at this point. Fingers crossed that that's what we see here. I would love to see price recover. We did hit 100 or sub 100K right before we went live. Price already back up to 101.3. I don't know. We're going to find out together, that's for sure. We did the crosses. We did total. Man, these indicators do look bad, though. Not going to lie. Dominance while we were gone. New cycle highs. Let's go. Did you think dominance was done? Boys and girls, dominance is not done. We have been saying this, I don't know. As long as people have been calling for alt season, we've been saying dominance is not done. I'm still looking for a hit into the 70s. And part of me, or even I should say more than part of me, still thinks we're going to hit a higher high versus 21. We hit a higher low. We never traded lower in 2021 cycle than we did 2018, 2017 cycle. So it makes sense that we may see a higher high here in dominance. And I know that's not what we want to hear. My old bags don't want to hear that either. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. Whenever this does happen, it is likely to perform some kind of blow off top move. It can move very, very slowly as it has over the last few years, and then quickly make that run to whatever high it's going to do before falling down. The pain ripping off the band-aid will eventually see that capital rotate back to alts to some degree, in my opinion. You can't see this go up forever. It's just not possible when it comes to a chart like dominance. It can't go up. It can't ever go above 100. It can't even get to 100 in reality. A little bit more pain there, but I've been saying I don't think that we're going to see lower lows on the dollar pair versus, say, April's low of this year. But the Bitcoin pairs we do see continue to suffer. And while I'm not going to look at all those charts today because I am really beat up from the last few days, we can look at really quickly here just on alerts. You know, maybe I'll do this. I'll do it this way. Blank. Oof, SPX got us stopped out there. We can look at our alerts here and we will find that many BTC pairs broke their lows from April. This was basically our speculation. The USD pairs in April likely to hold. However, the Bitcoin pairs likely to continue to break down until dominance hits its high. I'm thinking it's still somewhere in the mid 70s. We'll see. Solana broke its low of April in the last few days, yesterday. Not convinced that that is trending up quite yet. We'll have to see some kind of slowdown on Bitcoin or on Bitcoin dominance. Ripple XRP, same deal. Broke 2,000 sats over the last few days. Now approaching actually all the way back to February's low. Did it actually hit February's low? It broke February's low. Wow, that's really ugly. I was actually rooting that this one would hold. This actually looked pretty. But XRP now breaking this entire structure for its valuation against Bitcoin. And while we can never know for sure, this is a strong signal that that is going to look to continue to break down. You built support here over the last year. You've broken it finally. That's not a great look. Also, getting alerts here for the Bitcoin pair DOT. Probably not a surprise to anyone, much less surprising than XRP. DOT, we had some alerts for on the Bitcoin pair, and that is also broken down to a new all-time low, at least on Binance. I think that's honestly an all-time low across exchanges. But this one really not as surprising. I think anyone could have predicted that this would, but it is more surprising to see something like Solana or XRP break those almost year-long supports. Bitcoin dominance is just not done yet. There will come a time, I think, to long the alts, but that time is not today, in my opinion. So dominance, we did dominance. This is the chart that I think everyone's really watching in markets. Circle IPO is going absolutely bonkers. We talked about this when it started. I guess it started trading at $31, now at $264. Circle, the stablecoin issuer, up almost 10x, or almost got to 10x. Ooh, nice. Yeah, hit 300 from its initial price. And at this point, there's really little TA to do. It was in price exploration. An hour ago, it sold off some. Seems to be hitting a higher low here. There are mechanics behind IPOs that may be favorable for this to continue running, at least as the chart looks like this. There's some kind of restrictions, and this is not my expertise area, but there's restrictions on selling IPOs within a certain amount of days of their launch. There's likely not efficient ways to short this chart yet. And it's really been moving up, so the hype and FOMO kind of sinking in here. In my opinion, I would not touch this. I wouldn't look to short or long this at this point. It is already almost 10x'd from its initial price. Whenever people can take profit, they're going to. Don't get caught holding the bag on this. Don't get caught holding at the top here. I think it's trading at like 250 times earnings or something crazy. This is kind of hands off for me now. We had initially talked about a trade from 103, just meagerly to 125. If anyone took that trade from 103, hopefully you let it run, because if you did, you were in some serious profit there. But at this point, I wouldn't go anywhere near this. Maybe if we see it retrace all the way to like 165, I don't think that's in the cards for anytime soon. But backtesting some kind of previous resistance might give us an entry of some kind. Here, you're really chasing the number up. If you do get caught up in the FOMO, you can't resist, get out and profit quickly. Don't hold this thinking it's going to go up forever. Nothing goes up forever. Certainly not a stablecoin issuer. Circle, not going to go up forever. Just be careful here. That is my bottom line. Be very careful. I tweeted this morning. This is an interesting little topic here. Tweeted this morning. It was a rather successful tweet. In typical Twitter fashion or X fashion, anytime you have a successful tweet, people are mad in the comments. Anyway, people got big mad in the comments, and that's how you know it was successful. I said, what happened to all the M2 experts? This was the big part that almost every angry comment missed. Bitcoin is never so simple. It's never that simple. I wasn't saying that Bitcoin isn't going to go up anymore. I wasn't bullish. But it's never as simple as something like this. So many analysts on X were literally day by day adjusting the M2 supply, global M2 supply. And remember, guys, we have lots of issues with M2. Mostly that the US M2 doesn't update for like 2 months. And so you're looking at some really wonky data, trying to fit it to a chart, trying to say it's delayed a certain amount of weeks or something. I don't know. My issue is with this. So many people looking for like a literal blueprint or guide to the price of Bitcoin. Like they were matching this up and saying, okay, the dip was here, so now it has to go up. I think that Bitcoin has another leg up. I think 150K is a low target for the end of this year, but it's never going to be this simple. the more people who are looking at this saying this is how it works, is the like quicker it is to it's not going to play this way anymore. This got 250,000 views from 7:30 this morning, so like 5 hours, and people are pretty mad in the comments, but whatever. We have gone over this many times. My issues with them too. Here is the biggest one, maybe. So this is just US M2. It's not like global, whatever. You can see it is delayed. We only have April's data point, which means we don't have one for May, and we certainly don't have anything for June. At the end of June, we'll get May's, and it's not really going to be a surprise. It's going to be at all-time high. We saw March together live here. We saw this update like April 1st. We saw it break all-time high. Or was it April? Whatever, May 1st. We saw it break all-time high. We said it is likely that we are going to see just the next indefinite amount of M2 prints from the Fed at all-time high, which is bullish for all markets. That's never something that I've argued against. But what I have argued against is saying that this is, what has to happen, or Bitcoin has to follow this, right? We've looked at this before. You go to the previous all-time high in 21, and you will find that the M2 supply topped out 6 months later. 6 months later. So this is post the bounce and sell-off into April, May, really into the bear market. We saw M2 top out, yet Bitcoin had already begun its bear market. There was 6 months here of lag. This is why I'm cautioning people to be careful. When we look at the bear market bottom in December of 22 for Bitcoin, M2 supply didn't bottom for almost an entire year. Bitcoin had gone from 15K all the way, at that point, what was it at? Like all the way to 30 something, right? Where were we? 30K. It had already doubled, yet M2 supply wasn't done selling off or shrinking for 10 months, or almost a year later. Then it began to reverse. And so this correlation is something, right? Maybe we can say, well, M2 is likely to just move up. M2 is largely something that only expands. In fact, the odd, I'll call it, the odd reduction or shrinking of M2 really is not observable at this scale that we saw from 22 to 23 in its entire history. For the rest of its history, there are times where it pulled back or shrank maybe for a month or 2 months or so. You can see these little dips, little clips on it. There are times where it just was sideways, it didn't expand or contract, but it really never shrank like we saw in 22 and into this year when we broke its all-time high again. So what I can say is, are they correlated? Sure, they're correlated. Everything is likely correlated. Any asset valued in dollars or valued in fiat is likely going to be somewhat correlated with this, but that correlation isn't very helpful. If M2 is always moving up, they're going to be correlated when those assets are moving up or appreciating, and then they're not going to be correlated when those assets aren't. So am I saying don't be bullish? No, always be bullish, my friends. Bitcoin is always moving up in a big enough picture. But M2 is just not really the guide for it, right? It's not really the thing to cite and say, well, Bitcoin is going to, micromanage. It's going to go down next month or up this month because of M2. If anything, it is largely lagging and kind of just vaguely, right? Just vaguely correlated with, is it going up? Then it's probably correlated with M2. There's my little bitch, my little rant about this. If you disagree, you have thoughts other than what I have, that is okay. I welcome you to share them in our communities, share them with me. I like disagreeing opinions. If everyone agreed, we would have really boring conversations. But this is how I see it. I like how mad it made everybody. That was fun. What do we got here? Oil. We called the top of oil back in June. We said that was probably the top of this move. Continues to kind of lag here, lower high literally today on this escalation, de-escalation, whatever you want to call it, heading back down. Now, I think that oil really kind of front ran the news in a sense of it just returned to its trend line. It just returned basically to the channel it's been in for years. It rejected, it closed even below that trend line, and now it's struggling to get back above it. There are so many factors in the world that influence oil prices. I might even make an argument that Bitcoin This might be interesting. I've never done this, so this may not go well. How correlated are Bitcoin and oil? This might be interesting because oil largely reflects the cost of energy, the cost of electricity. Bitcoin, its lifeblood is electricity. So when the cost of electricity goes up, Bitcoin mining becomes less profitable. That might be an important or an interesting correlation. Unfortunately, oil has moved down for a very long time, and Bitcoin really hasn't. Let me see. That is kind of a floppy correlation. That's floppy. I would have expected that to be a little bit closer. Even today, that big sell-off isn't that correlated. There's something here. There's something that you could do with oil price and Bitcoin. Because when the cost of energy goes up, it becomes less profitable to mine. When mining becomes less profitable, miners have to sell more supply on the open market, etc., etc. We'll have to check back in on this. Kind of interested. There's something there. Maybe someone smarter than me will come out with this soon. There's something here for sure. Tesla with its robo-taxi demos here today, back up to 358 at the 618 retracement. Breaking this level could get very exciting for Tesla. If it can retake 358, I think it has a clear shot back to the all-time high. If this is the high of the week and we see it sell off the rest of the week, return back to 295, probably that's the lower high and Tesla's got some trouble. Got some bills to pay at 250. But if it can break 358 again, I think that actually, back to all-time high, that could be quite a spicy move for it. This is a hell of a chart, man. It's a hell of a chart. Ethereum, we did get stopped out. All right, let me update on Ethereum here. We did get stopped out from our 2,500 entry. At one point, we could have closed, right? If we knew the future, we could have closed. It came very close to our TP, but it did not hit. And because I'm not a clown LARPer, that got stopped out. We did get stopped out, but that's what stop losses are for. We talked about an entry at 2,150 if this trade didn't play out. And so far, knock on wood, that is actually doing really well. This was a previous support that was largely ignored on the way up and now coming back down to test it. And so far holding. This actually could end up being a really good entry, especially because people seem really freaked out about it. Let me see. A lot of other confluence. 2150, it did hold. We got stopped out on the FBTC pair. You know what's really interesting though is that we see a golden cross forming on the FBTC pair. This is not what I had hoped would happen and not what I think the chart was really hinting at. A little bit of a savage move here from FBTC. Still holding a higher low, but losing this extremely strong structure that had me pretty bullish on Ethereum. I'm not ready to take that all back and go back to being bearish like I was. But that's not a good step. Another breakdown of the FBTC pair, and maybe I'll have to. Maybe I'll be forced to go back to being bearish. We'll see. And this all comes right as ETH is looking for its golden cross. Man, these crosses can be just cursed, can't they? Coming up at the end of this month, at this point, it's been delayed a little bit by the sell-off. The ETH Golden Cross. Looking ahead. Maybe this is good. Maybe it's a good thing to sell it before the cross. Maybe it's not. But what we can definitely take from this is on this trade from Ethereum, if it is taken from 2,150, we may see some serious resistance at 2,500. If I took this trade, which I didn't, I did take a Bitcoin one though. But if I took this trade, I probably would look to close it at 2,500. For those of you feeling extremely bullish, maybe by the time it comes, you can try to hold it to 3K. But this is going to act as some serious resistance. This was, in my opinion, this was supposed to hold, right? This was the bullish structure. At this point, Ethereum has been rejected by its 200 daily moving average. It's sold off under the 50. The logical next move is to retest that 50, and if it acts as resistance, well, you're going to be seeing this chart nuke. You're going to be seeing this chart probably nuke, and you will see me bearish on Ethereum again. I hope that doesn't happen. I'm not even calling for it yet, but got to keep this on the horizon. 2,500. I think that's a pretty good play, honestly. 2,150 to 2,500. I think that's very doable. Not much else happened, I feel like, while we were gone. Not much happened. Tons happened. But Arrow, this is a trade we had live. Arrow hitting that 31% take before selling off back to the entry here. I'll do more analysis on this to decide if I think it's worthy of re-entering. But at this point, not with dominance moving again. Ooh, here we go. Let's go. Let's go. Nobody warned me. You guys probably did warn me. I just don't have the chat pulled up. Also, I think my headphones are dead. So I'm just going to take these off. I got so sunburned on that trip. I got so sunburned. Here we are, retesting 1024. If you are feeling bearish for this week, and honestly, we have seen some gnarly Monday moves. Go back to last Monday. We got wrecked. Boom, we got wrecked. Go back to the Monday before that. Rally wrecked. Rally wrecked. Here we are again on Monday, and it does feel like we're pumping. Got a little trauma, a little PTSD here. Be careful. Be careful. If you're feeling bearish this week, this might be the entry for short. 21.4. It's a little early, in my opinion. But here we are. Previous support, we lost it. Now it's Monday. We rallied to it. We saw this happen last Monday, literally. We hit 108.3. We said, this is where we're going to look to wrap up a longer opener, shorter for bearish. I wasn't. I regretted it. But that rejected price happened the Monday before. We talked about 109.3. We said the same thing. On both of these Mondays, I said live on stream, I should probably close my long and then reopen lower. But I didn't, because I don't know. I'm a fool. I'm a fool. Is this Monday any different? There are some factors I would say. That change it up. Let's say this is the first time we really were selling off into the Monday, and then Monday was a reversal, as opposed to Monday being the continuation. That makes it different. We do have the moon phase changing. I laugh every time I talk about this. We do have the moon phase change. It's not worthless. It's not worth nothing. But it's up to you guys to put how much weight on that you think. Pay attention. 1024 today. That's what we're looking for. This is likely the point to get out of a long if you don't like it, or to get into a short if you do. This is likely it. This could be the opportunity for the week. That's quite a reversal, man. That sell off under 100K. That's actually quite a reversal. Hold up. Damn. It's like as quick as it fell, it's actually got some fire underneath it again. Not a lot going on here on the hour. Very middle of the road RSI on time frames on oscillators. Very neutral, I'll say, signals. 2 hour. 2 hours suggesting a close above 1024 could line us up for some more upside. That is kind of pretty. If we close above 1024 today, I would look at 1059 again. 3 hour candles are tricky. Things were so pretty, man. They were so pretty. Right here, they were so pretty. Last week on Monday. Here we are on Monday again. TBD. To be determined. Anyway. I know we usually stream longer than this. I had a sleep study last night. I had to be there at 7:45 and they woke me up at 5 in the morning. I'm beat up, especially right after vacation. We're going to be live again tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'm going to have more energy then. We'll do more analysis. Chirpow will be speaking. He'll be testifying at the biannual monetary report, I think, in front of Congress maybe. We'll be live. I thank you for joining today. I'm sorry Then I'm going to cut this one short. I think the analysis was to the point and spot on. I love you guys. I will see you in the early morning tomorrow. Check out the links in the video description below. FEMX, BUI, DFI are exchange partners. No restrictions. Anybody can sign up there. Great exchanges. You should join the Discord, discord.gg/TomCrown. It's free. You can jump in there. Always people chatting. And you can check out joincrowncrypto.com, our new premium group. You can get a free week trial just by signing up. Costs you nothing, no risk.